Hi everyone, today we're talking about WheeshtE. I'm Valerie, your knitting fairy godmother, and I'm here with Linda from Color Storm Yarns, and we're talking about being inauthentic.
Yeah, this chapter has given me lots of challenges, as you know, and um, I was going back to the very first page because I feel like I've talked about a lot of things in this chapter, and I just wanted to make sure I covered everything. And I was looking at this first page, and it said, um, Kate Davies writes, this whole thing about be yourself. Be yourself is the answer to creativity. And she's challenging that idea. Um, what does being yourself mean if you don't quite know who you are? What if you'd rather ask difficult questions of the world than to try to continually express authentic self? What if you regard your selfhood as plural, ambiguous, or as just plain insignificant, rather than a simple vehicle of creative production or expression?
Hmm.
Being someone else might be more fun. So she says she has this exercise at the back where she challenged me. I heard the call to choose one day this week to experiment with not quite looking like your usual self. And so I did that.
And how did that go for you?
Well, Bethany's been busy, so I didn't do it with makeup. Um, my one daughter who is still living with us. So I thought about what can I do by myself? What's realistic? So what I did was I put on my frumpiest clothes,
Okay,
a big
that's
oversized sweatshirt, some sweatpants. I put my hair in a ponytail, wore no makeup, and wore no earrings, which for me, I don't go anywhere out of the house without earrings. My earrings just are very much about me. I love that little piece of self-expression. So I didn't wear those and I just wore those all day long. And then I went to the grocery store and we've talked about how in this chapter the undercurrent of this being authentic is not take yourself so seriously. So
mm-hmm.
I really went with that. And on top of that, those frumpy garments, I put on this hat because it was a cold, chilly day.
It was a cold, chilly day yesterday. That is true.
I put on this hat
Oh,
and my grandmother's old fur coat, like from the 30s. So it was long
wow.
and some frumpy rain boots. And I kind of was sort of had this image of a bag lady. So I said to Bethany, "Do I look like a bag lady?" And she's like, "Yeah, kind of." So I went to the grocery store that way.
Uh-huh.
And it did feel a little strange. It felt different. I wondered if anyone would treat me differently, and so how I felt
Felt
was
was
more
more
shy.
shy. Mm-hmm.
I kept to
I can
myself more. I didn't make eye contact with people or make any comments. I don't think anybody treated me that differently. One lady did recognize me and said hello, which I was especially nice. I think that was especially nice in my frumpy wardrobe that someone was kind. I thought to myself, well, I'm certainly not driving a bag lady's car and I'm not shopping like a bag lady. So in a lot of ways, it it was not very authentic bag lady. But, like I said, that undercurrent of not taking yourself so seriously, not trying to be the prettiest one in the room, not trying to look my best, not trying to impress anybody, just focus on the shopping, let myself relax and observe and not take myself so seriously. It was it was a worthy exercise. I think I just learned that really who I am is all about how I treat people.
Mm.
And my goal every day is just to try to be kind and try to listen better and treat people nicely, and probably taking myself less seriously is a good step toward that. What do you think?
I mean, to me, it's interesting that this sort of came up like in and around Halloween, because that's when we traditionally wear a costume. And I mean, because we started talking about this closer to Halloween. So,
True.
um, I mean, the feelings that you're discussing are really interesting, and how the clothes we wear affects how we feel, and how we feel affects our clothing choices, and like that interplay of inward and outward expression and observation. For me, I live a very anonymous life. I don't go to the store and see people that I know, and that works for me. So for me, if someone recognized me in my errand life, that would be very surprising
Okay.
because that doesn't happen. But I know that people who've had the luxury of living in one place for many, many years, and there's a different sense of community.
Yeah.
But my community is more spread out. I do things with people all over the world, and we're just not going to run into each other at the store.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Halloween is definitely fun. You definitely have the fun factor of trying on being somebody completely different, just being behind that mask and being able to be goofy. I mean, honestly, when I felt like that was when I went to this wedding a couple years ago. What's
Really.
even stranger for me of dressing like a bag lady is dressing to the nines. I
Yeah.
don't I don't put on a dress for anything except maybe like a once in a lifetime event. Like a wedding or a funeral.
Yeah.
I just don't like to wear dresses.
Mm.
So this wedding was an evening wedding at an officers club in Washington, D.C. So we had to dress up. It was black tie. The invitation
Yeah.
said black tie. I had to look up what that meant.
Hmm.
And like, okay, I'm gonna have to wear a dress to this.
Yeah. And
And
not just
fortunately,
a dress, but a formal dress,
yeah,
a
that's right.
gown.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Hmm.
It didn't have to be floor length, but it did have to be dressy.
Yeah.
So I took my cousin out shopping um, for moral support, and I did buy a couple of dresses. And that day, with my husband, both of us getting dressed to the nines, fancy shoes. It was very fun walking through DC all dressed up in order to, go from the car to the club and then from the club, or I guess it was the church first, right? It was a nice church, Catholic wedding, and then walking from the church to the club and then back to the car. I really felt like I was in a Halloween costume. I
Mm.
was just a completely different goofy person. We drank wine, and I can be goofy when I drink wine. And just it brings out the party person.
Yeah.
And we had a lot of fun. But that is, for me, much more out of my element than even dressing as a bag lady. How about for you? Do you dress up often?
I'm learning how to use clothes as a means of, turning up the volume and getting noticed when I want to, and then turning down the volume when I don't want to. So it's very interesting when I'm at a conference teaching. It really helps to be noticed and to wear clothes that are noticeable. And like, there's something very powerful about walking down the hallway and feeling heads turn. And then it's equally stressful and mortifying because I know that like soon I'm going to have a microphone and I'm going to be on stage talking about, the things that I know and understand, my expertise, right?
Yes.
As a professional. So there's that. And then there's the, turning it down. I'm going to run errands. I've got my sweats on. I'm not that I'm rude to anybody, but like I'm not in like a leadership situation where I have to be in charge or very confident.
Yeah, and probably most of us prefer not being noticed. I think there's probably
It
very few
depends
people
on,
that like to be the star all the time.
yeah. I mean, it depends on the person. Like, certainly some people like that attention, but for me, it's something that I'm learning to accept in certain situations
Yeah.
and embody, but I don't have to do that all the time. And I like that.
Yeah. For me, I've been the kind of person where I have always my whole life felt completely comfortable with children. I always babysat a lot and I couldn't wait for the parents to leave because I didn't want to talk to the parents. I wanted to play with the kids. And it's kind of like that now. I teach, like a Sunday school class at church, and I am just completely comfortable up front with them or sitting on the floor. I just find them all
Yeah.
fascinating. So I like to sort of figure out each one, what makes each one click, how to unlock each personality. And whereas you put me in front of a bunch of grown-ups, it's harder for me.
Yeah.
But I can do it. It's just there's a recovery period afterwards. There's a big building up of energy, and then there's the recovery period.
Yeah. That's true. And both can be true, right? The paradox of the children fill you up and the adults, take a little bit more energy or depletion. So managing that from a personal energy level is
It's worth it.
insightful.
It's
Yeah.
worth
And
it though, isn't it? When you put yourself
that
out
you
there as
figured
a
out.
teacher, I love I love my adult students and what they bring because they all
Hmm.
bring their past stories
And
and
I want that. Like,
exactly.
yeah,
It's just because it's harder doesn't mean it's not worth it.
100%. And it's another way to be inauthentic, right? Like, if we're being pushed up on the stage and that's very uncomfortable, we can call that a level of inauthenticity,
Yep.
right?
Yep. You just have to go with what's difficult and trust that people are going to carry you through it. People are showing up to a class, they usually want it to succeed. They're not there to tear the teacher down. You know.
That's true.
So,
Very interesting.
yeah.
Excellent. Well, so I didn't even look forward to see what the next
Me
chapter
neither. Yeah.
is.
This was a really challenging chapter for me, but I loved it. I learned a lot.
Hmm. The next chapter is titled Repeat Yourself. So we're going to talk about that next week.
Okay. I look forward
Right.
to reading that.
Okay.
Thanks everyone for joining us and for trying out some of these new ideas and bring that creativity to your life and see how it enriches you.
Hmm.
See you next time. Bye-bye. Right. Stop recording. Oh, my mouse is just in a weird place. Stop.